Guten Tag and bienvenidos, listeners, and welcome to Über Cinco, your favorite podcast game show where we deep dive top fives. I, Brian Ernst, will be your host for today as we're talking top 5 things learned while attending an all-boys school. I don't know what I'm going to be able to contribute to today's conversation, but luckily we have 2 contestants who can. Our first contestant is a familiar favorite, fortunate to find your earphones with his ferocious phonics fulfilling your found fantasies. Alliteration aside, it's Mitch Brinkman. How are you, sir?
Hello, hi, good to be here. Excited to talk about my days at military high school, so thank you very much.
Oh man, I cannot wait to hear some of these stories I have not heard before. But to his counter, making his Über Cinco debut from another time zone, is a man who once improv'd his way into a cult only to dismantle it from the inside, proving his worth through prov. Please welcome Robert Callahan. How are you, sir?
Great story. I'd love to hear about that sometime.
Oh man, so would we. So
Yeah.
Please make sure you have that.
Oh, yes,
completely.
absolutely. Yeah, give me
Completely.
yes, and I'll tell you all about it. Yeah.
I'll let you guys herald that out before the end of the show. And if you all want to get blown to the moon, head on over to ubercinco.com to submit your suggestions for upcoming shows and to watch and share your favorite episodes. And if you're new to the den, welcome, and let us wake you up with a quick rundown of the rules.
Each player in the den has spent time with today's topic, arranging their top 5 answers in order of importance. Those answers have been submitted to the host who will moderate the game, awarding points to the player with the most poignant answer.
Starting with their number 5 choice, we will move up the ranks until we reach each of their top answers. But if both contestants happen to have the same answer on their list, well, we have an Uber stare down.
You will hear the official Über Cinco siren, and both players must reveal their answer and what number they ranked their submission. An Uber stare down is all or nothing, with one player earning 3 points. After all answers have been read, the host will reveal the final score. And as a reminder, don't forget to stick with us until the end of the show, where I, Brian Ernst, will give you my Fast 5 send-off, where I will rattle off my list of the top 5 reasons to attend an all-boys school and what I interpret them to mean. Because I, again, have nothing to add to this conversation. And finally, as host, I'm entitled to institute a house rule for today's game. Bonus points to either man who mentions some of the funniest teachers' names. I will be keeping tally of those, so make sure those are hot and ready.
Oh, God, yep.
Mitch, you won the pre-show nut off, where you in fact prove cashews are not legumes. So you have home court advantage, and you shall go first.
That was very dirty to start, but yes, I do. I'm a big fan of nuts. So, the almonds. Okay, my first one is I like to call. I think I learned is keeping your head on a swivel.
Oh my God! This is where we're starting already.
If you don't dance, it's not real.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go.
This man has done his research. He knows the dance, and we are going into a stare down. That means Mitch's number 5 is going against Robert's number 3. What do you have as number 3, sir?
My number 3 is You Are the Bully.
Oh, I cannot wait for this one. Mitch, you drew it first, so what do you have for us?
So yeah, I attended the all-boys Catholic military college prep high school called St. Thomas Academy in Mendota Heights, Minnesota. I did not go there because I wanted necessarily military education. I went there because my friends from elementary school went there, and I tried public school for 2 years. And I was terrified, and I got quiet, and I was like, I need my friends again. So I followed them to this high school. So I just want to put that out there. But guess what? It ended up being, a pretty fun time. But during your whole time there, you always had to keep your head on a swivel. For people just, I feel like boys are, they're just always ready to fuck with each other. And without more, potential crush matches in the halls to, have your attention to, then it's just like, all right, I need to constantly rank myself and then improve my rankings throughout the schoolyard. So this is perfectly illustrated by a speech our headmaster once gave. The first line of that speech was, "Gentlemen, we need to talk about something, and that issue is ball whacking." There was such an issue with kids hitting each other in the nuts. And the reason he had to give this speech was an 8th grader had been ball whacked by a sophomore, and he had split his scrotum, had to go to the hospital.
Holy shit.
Yep. Because kids who were extra evil would use like their keys on a lanyard.
Yeah.
Yep.
What did he use?
It was car keys, I think it was, like a lanyard kind of thing. Yeah.
They Andy Bernarded him. No.
Yeah. And so you learned quickly at my school, one, if someone says, hey, Brinkman, or hey, something like to get your attention, you have to like be ready. Just like you always have to have your attention up and walk with your books in front of yourself. That always helps. But then naturally, after experiencing this year after year and being in this like just hostile, it's like you're running the gauntlet every time you're walking to class. It's like people are always trying to fuck with you. Then you start naturally wanting to lash out yourself and start trying to, exact some revenge here and there at some people that get you good, I will say. And so you learn quickly, because in my school, I was not the best athlete. I was not the smartest. I was not the hottest, if you will, either. So the one thing I had was, I was just a little bit funnier than most people, which I also found out during high school. So I had to bully kids back with, verbal insults. Because I knew if I ball whacked someone good, they split their scrotum good, they probably were just going to kick my ass. And I didn't want that to happen. So, always head on a swivel, always ready to
and gingers experience pain differently. So you really don't want that.
Exactly. We have a higher pain tolerance, so people know I need to go harder on this guy. So,
Mitch, can I ask a framing question?
Yes.
This one. Are you with your military school and your headmaster? Are you 95 years old?
Every day.
I just don't know what time period you went to high school in, and I just need to understand.
This was 1956.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
A lot of rugby.
Yes, they actually installed inflatable bumpers, like at the drop-off area, so all the drunk dads wouldn't wreck their Chryslers when they came in, dropping their kids off. So
good.
So keeping your head on a swivel and also being ready. Unfortunately, too, like a thing I feel really bad about now. But there was this kid that had transition lenses. And I made fun of him like crazy because
transition lenses?
Yeah, he would ball whack. They're
so bad.
They are, but that's what you latched on to.
Well, okay. I mean, like this is one of those things because he ball whacked me a couple times and was just like kind of a shithead. And so I would always tell him like, how many do you always have 2 pairs of glasses on you at once? Like I would always ask him that question, and he'd be like, "No, they change like based on the light." And I'd be like, I think you have 2 pairs. Show me, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, it's that sad thing where it's like you eat or you get eaten, so. If
I was the transitions lens boy, I would have been so furious with that question every day. How dare you?
I know. So
I'm living in the future and you're making fun of me for it. Even though these are the dorkiest things I could have picked from the optometry place. Yeah, that is awful.
And clearly that kid was lashing out because he didn't have a ton of friends. Like he had his maybe 1 or 2 friends from his certain club. I think he was like a robotics club person, I think is what he did, or maybe it was like the robot or I don't know, just like a bit more of the nerdy corner of the overall social strata. But
is that the worst you did? I feel like we're about to talk to Robert about being a bully. Is this the worst you did was tear someone down for transition lenses?
Boy, no, I'm sure not. I'm sure I was mean to someone somewhere.
Was it blocked out?
Yeah, I'm like,
you can't cost. You were never mean to anyone, right?
No. I know. I don't think I was anyone's. I don't think anyone was like, man, Brinkman bullies me every day.
This is public record. You need to get this out. If you lie on this podcast, you're going to military prison because you went to military school. So
I did. That's true.
The MPs are at your door, sir.
No. I don't think I was not a targeting bully by any stretch of the imagination. But I'm sure
you weren't a scrotum splitting bully, but not by any means. No.
But But if someone couldn't take a joke though, that was their problem. It wasn't mine. So
yeah.
Obviously,
you don't want to be called, you know what I'm saying? Hey, look out for old Splits Brink. He's coming down the hall. Thank God that wasn't you.
No. Yeah.
All right. No more from you. You need to stop.
Yeah,
we need
done.
to hear from the real bully, Mr. Robert Callahan. What'd you do? You are the bully.
Okay.
How are you the bully, sir?
So here, let's start with a mantra. Okay.
Yep.
The concept is hurt people. Am I right?
Oh, sure.
All
Yep.
here.
Yes.
I would have to say, just let's say that. Let's remember that. Let's breathe. We're all okay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I come from a tradition of bottom feeders. I was not a boy who had a
wait. You guys eat ass? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I just thought they were tilapia. I didn't know what was going on.
Well, I'm from the South, so it's catfish, folks.
Sorry. Pardon me.
We eat mudfish. I'm talking about when I start out in high school, I'm short. I'm pale. I only eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and a Coke every single day. And I'm in the band. I'm angry and easily provoked. So there's a lot, and I'm already coming from we didn't have a lot going for us even before high school. So point being that in the social strata, I've positioned myself in that classic way that you sort of conditioned to as I'm a loner, I'm an outsider, I'm a weirdo, you know how it is. And so that's the mantra you enter. That's how you see yourself, and the you here is me. And so it's sort of it's impossible to perceive that anyone could be of lower social class than me in my own mindset.
Sure.
But what's happening is that there's sort of like a peer group of these kind of people, right? Who are all just sort of we're together because no one else wants to be around us. And it's just like you're describing. It's so mean. It's mental torture. It's psychological torture, with one another, because it feels like a jungle mentality of just trying to survive by making sure that you're above someone else in the pecking order.
Yeah.
And it feels meaningless to yourself in the moment. It feels like it's both meaningless and meaningful. But the thing that solidified this for me, and the reason that I wanted to think about this this whole top 5 in terms of me as a person looking back at that child, is one time I was in a bar, call it 10 years ago. And I was back in town, and so I'm I didn't live in Memphis at the time, and so I came back to town, and the thing you do at a bar when you see people from high school you don't want to talk to is you say hello to them, you shake their hand, you go away. There was one guy, this one person who I held my hand out, he looked at my hand, he looked up at me, and then did not acknowledge me. He didn't say anything, and that's the moment where I'm like, holy shit, I was that guy's bully. I definitely made that person feel like I was a monster for that person. And it never occurred to me that I could have had that kind of impact on another person, until that moment.
Wow.
So that's the story, folks.
That's
you are the bully.
Yeah. So Mitch described military Catholic Academy, Minnesota.
Yes.
You're talking somewhere near Memphis. Can you kind of describe the school that you went to?
So this is so fascinating. We'll name this. This is Christian Brothers High School in Memphis. It's a Catholic high school. What's so interesting is we're the third most expensive private school for boys. And so there's plenty of new money and people who they want to send, they've got legacies, and they're people who've been in Memphis business forever, and so they've accrued social cachet and a little bit of life capital, what have you, but it's still a pretty trashy school.
Interesting. Okay.
Because it's still the South, and so you've got all these wannabe Southern boys who are we're gonna go mudding and drink in a field and bring our trucks driving around. So it's such a weird trashy group of people, honestly. But that's just Memphis in general. Like Memphis is not a town with like a southern gentry in the way that other places might. So yeah, real rough and tumble group. I guess.
Was this school a stretch at all for your family? Was this like you understood that like you were getting a better opportunity than what maybe normally would happen?
Fraught. It was like I am one of those legacies, right? Like my father and my grandfather went to this school, and so it was just implied. And let me tell you that not a legacy in the sense that like it was my legacy that allowed me to go to the school. This was if you can pay the money, you can go. Yeah. But I've lived a life full of like my family were not blue collar, but like not making a ton of money. So like, it was definitely not an afterthought to pay for tuition for a place like this. And I tended to gravitate towards people like myself who were just sort of like their parents were kind of scraping it together, and making sure that they could go. Cause there was another group of people who were like the classic was, the son of, the founder of FedEx was in our class briefly. Damn. Boy, was he a terrible person.
The most wealthy ones almost always are, or you find out they're just deeply, deeply strange, and not always in a good way.
That boy, fascinating. That he like many dilettantes before him, tried to have a movie career. And was just sort of like put into movies because his dad's rich. And so like he's in My Dog Skip, and the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, as sort of like a one-line background actor. It's really fabulous kind of person.
Oh my gosh.
So going from the school and going back to the future to this moment in the bar.
Yes.
Where do you have any recognition of this man and anything that you may or may not have done to him?
Relentlessly mean to this person, because he was like, I'm not going to say a full name, but like, his name was Pedro, and so his name was Gaydro. Like, come give me like it sucks. Like, it's stupid things. Like, but it's just like he was also a person who struggled in school and struggled with social like awkwardness, and like no hard feelings against that guy, but it was like one of those things where it's just like it was easy to acquire better social status by punching down to people who like it was generally accepted that this person is like less than, right? And so this is one guy that I'm thinking of, but obviously like there's not like one person who's on the bottom that everybody eats alive. It's just like everybody sort of takes turns, including myself, being the person who gets eaten alive. So,
wow. This is a tough one. This is a tough one here. I feel like you were the better bully here, Robert. So I feel like this is kind of where you may have to win. But what's making you win is that you recognized it later and you became a better person for it, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You will win the 3 points for this stare down. Gives me so much pleasure to give Mitch 0. But we got to go back up to the top now to get Robert's number 5.
Sure. My number 5, I wanted to ease into the hot tub here. And save the deep introspection for later, but here we go. We're starting number 5 for me was How to Eat from a Vending Machine.
Oh yeah. Classic.
Yeah. So, the story being here that we did not have hot meals, period, at the school. They did not serve food to you at all.
Wait, what? Wow.
No. Huh? At lunch, you either brought your own lunch or there was a gauntlet of vending machines that you could purchase food from. And it is everything from like a rotating, packaged hamburgers and then after you get past the vending machines, there's another gauntlet of microwaves that you go and you heat up your horrible garbage food. And so, but in addition to the classics, you also had, the ice cream, maker, the ice cream machine, and then the pièce de résistance, the Orita French fry machine, which made,
wait. Was this
fried French fries for you?
So you hit a button, it drops order fries and it comes, oh my God. I was feeling very bad for you for a little bit, but now I'm as high school Mitch is very jealous.
That is what I paid for.
Yes.
Yeah. The Orita machine.
So This must have been a profit play, right, for Christian Brothers Academy. I mean, this is way better than having to cook food from somewhat scratch every day.
There's no food allowance. We didn't like pay. None of our tuition went towards subsidizing the food that we were eating. And no one was regulating what we were eating. So we could just stuff whatever garbage we wanted into our mouths. So
you're all men here. You must learn how to eat a nutritious meal on yourself. Yeah. Do not eat too many fries.
That was my favorite thing on, like, it'd be a game day for football players, and the lunch special would have been like the haystack, which was just a pile of waffle fries with nacho cheese and like ground beef and, like 3 chunks of tomatoes, and they all just eat a giant pile of fries and,
will carbo load.
Yeah. And just be fine for the football game. It was, yeah. You stopped bringing the PB&J and Coke, I'm guessing, by later on in high school.
Because I eventually was essentially grabbed by the face and being like, Robert, you're going to leave this house eventually and you're going to have to learn how to eat food.
Yeah.
Because mommy's not going to make you a peanut butter jelly sandwich every day. And Robert makes himself a peanut butter jelly sandwich a lot these days, but I do eat food now. And so I did graduate to eating like essentially just the same microwaved chicken sandwich every day. Instead.
At least there's more protein than half of a sandwich of peanut butter.
Yum.
So good for you. Yum.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to try and pry some names out of you folks. Is any teacher specifically meant to look over the cafeteria during these times?
Ooh.
At St. Thomas Academy, we had Mr. Klein was his name, and he had thinning hair, widow's peak, like just the lens kind of glasses, like no frames or whatever. And he always gelled his hair. So it's kind of like, it was like a shark's fin kind of, I remember that. And he was very, very serious and very intense with everyone except the football players, who he was just like, you guys are the best. I love you. He so desperately wanted to be head coach of the football team, but he was, I think, the defensive coordinator. But you could tell he just was waiting and waiting. And then the head coach got fired my junior year, and they brought in a different head coach. And Mr. Klein got, boom, stamped down again. But the best lunch session ever, he left to go bring like a sick freshman to the office. And someone threw a bag of chips at someone, and then someone threw like probably, some haystack cheese fries. And then someone goes, Mr. Klein isn't here. Let's fucking food! And literally everyone threw food. 3/4 of the people in a packed lunchroom threw their food, and then someone ran out as a spotter, saw Mr. Klein coming, and someone was, he's coming back. We all stopped, and Mr. Klein comes back, and he just goes, what the fuck happened? God damn it! But we all did it, so no one got in trouble. So, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a completely unrequited food fight. So it was great.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Unrequited.
Can't punish the crowd.
No, that's not the
word.
Unpunished. There we go. Unpunished. Sorry. Yeah. Unpunished. So.
All right.
I will say our lunch person was Brother Robert O'Kane, who ruled the lunchroom with an iron fist, and has actually become one of my favorite human beings, especially on Facebook. He loves to tell me like, "Oh, you're the craziest person I've ever met, Robert," and like very into it.
Well, Robert, I was going to give you 2 points for your number 5, but O'Kane is objectively funnier than Klein, so you're going to get 3 points for your number 5 as we go back to Mitch for his number 4. What do you have, sir?
Yeah, my number 4 is quite simply, I learned here that you're more capable. You're capable of more than what you think you are, and this I learned through. First and foremost, the most proud I've ever been on a project in high school. Actually, honestly, probably college too. Maybe a couple things in college. But my friend and I, we did this baseball documentary about baseball in Minnesota before and after the Civil War. So we literally went to the Historical Society, found newspaper clippings and box scores from pre and post Civil War, and analyzed like the players and the stats, and like read articles to see what the effect, like essentially how much did the Civil War kill baseball. Because, a lot of dudes died in Civil War. Didn't know that. Maybe not. Who knows? But
Mr. Historian.
You might want to take another trip back to also, some other things.
A lot of guys died in World War I as well. So, yeah.
That is true. Correct.
But so we did this documentary. So we were blending, like Franklin O'Houlihan from the 19th century, and then Kirby Puckett from the 20th century in this documentary of just think Ken Burns, but with my voice as the voiceover. And we got
somehow slower.
Yeah. A little slower, not as good, a little more nasally, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Yep.
Instead of Peter Coyote, that's the voiceover for the Ken Burns documentaries. Thank you.
Yes.
So we got a 115 out of 115, a perfect score in our project. Beautiful. This is for AP US History. Our teacher, Mr. Hoverson, was famously a great teacher, but a very tough teacher. Doug Hoverson, expected the best out of you. And he also was the coach of the Quiz Bowl and the speech team. So he was a very verbose, intelligent man.
Nice.
And we had the highest score. We had the only perfect score in the entire grade. And me and Dan Vatterott, my partner, were standing in his locker one day talking about it, being like, this is way to go. Like, we fucking did it. We spent every Saturday for 2 months straight at the History Society. We put our time in. And that day we're standing next to his locker. Carl Forsberg, our valedictorian, who then went on to Yale, graduated in 3 years, and now writes papers for the Department of War. Very, very intelligent guy.
So a failure. Yes.
Came by and literally was like, I heard you guys got a perfect score. Like, I think that's very unfair. My project on whatever, the White Fleet, some British, not a naval fleet, was much better. And clearly I did better research. And literally just said, fuck you guys, and then walked away. And we're like, well, we pissed off Carl Forsberg, so that's good, I guess. That's a plus. And I was
what a yucky person.
I know, yeah. He also played the French horn and was on the school team, and just he did it all. And also he affected a British accent, even though his parents were from Minnesota. He had a slight hello, that kind of Carl was a piece of work.
I know I just said I learned a lesson about bullying, but
yeah. He famously at the senior camp out in front of the high school, in front of the school that's the night before our last day, he brought in his backpack a bottle of wine and a wine glass while everyone else was drinking beer. And we're like, of course you did, Carl. So yeah.
And his name was Carl.
Yeah. And then also we disassembled and reassembled an entire play structure and then laid out sod as well in the court, in our formation court inside the building. We didn't think we'd be able to do that. We did that in one night in 4 hours. We brought it midnight to 4 a.m. It was our senior prank. Never thought we could pull that off. We did. We were very capable young men. And then lastly, this is my favorite named teacher of my entire high school career. Sophomore religion teacher, Dr. Austin Rockcastle.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a point.
Yes.
That's a point.
Yeah.
Yes. A head bigger than mine, enormous forehead. He meant so well, but he had no idea how to control 15-year-old boys. And he had mentioned during class one time that he liked root beer floats. And so my friends and I in the class said, one day let's just bring in root beer floats and we're just going to make floats. And we brought it in and we just started making them. And he said, no, you guys, you can't do this. We have to work today. We've got learning to do. And we just didn't, we pretended like he wasn't listening and we just kept making them and passing them out. And then we gave him one. He's like, no, I'm not going to drink. No, guys, throw these all out. Yay, throw it out. Just giving us, demands. And then guess what? We just said, just try it. Try it. Just try it, doctor. Come on, Austin. Just try it. We used to call him Austin too, just to
really
just needle him some more instead of doctor. And then he drank it and he seated and he's like, okay, yeah,
calm down.
We'll have root beer floats. And he just
Daddy got his medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of root beer float would it? What laid him low that was so good about this? Used mug?
I use either that or Barks probably, but it was just I don't know, regular brand vanilla ice cream. It was nothing special, but he just kept telling us no, and we just pretended like he wasn't talking and just kept making them, and yeah.
What a bunch of little shits.
Yeah. You probably talked about that in group afterwards.
Yeah.
Yep.
I slipped up today.
And oh, the foam. Oh, I let it melt. Oh,
sorry.
And then I partook. Shame for shame.
It was kind of sad too, because he was one of the few people who had a doctorate in Thomas Aquinas philosophy, but he was teaching sophomore religion.
Oh.
Yeah. So like he had way too much education for what, he needed to do to just.
So why wouldn't the man welcome a float?
I think, he was trying to assert himself in the classroom. But
mistake number one, if you're already doing something you don't want to do, just give in, man.
I know.
You're not going to change your pay.
Right? Yeah.
That's what I say.
Yeah. He only lasted a year. So yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. So
yeah, for having a shitty resume there at your school, but for the great name, you're going to get your extra point.
Thank you very much.
You're going to get 4 points for this round, Mitch. That was really good.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to head back over to Robert for his number 4. I'm worried about this one.
Yeah.
What do you got here?
Number 4, for me, the thing I learned was gay panic.
Oh boy.
I feel like if I'm answering the question of like what it was like to be at an all boys high school, especially in the turn of the 21st century, like there's really nothing that sums it up better than the fear that any of like a scarlet letter, that anyone at the school could be gay, but also beyond that, just sort of the homoeroticism of being around only men all the time. This one, I feel, that there's not even like I sort of unwind all of the the ball tapping that Mitch was talking about, like the touching penises, the drawing of penises, the looking at penises, the concern about, just sort of like proving yourself as a man. And what's so wonderful about this, what's so sumptuous about thinking about this in the retrospect, is how fake all of it is. Like one thing I considered, as a top 5 here was like that none of this matters, but also that everything matters. Like, that it's like, you're talking about 14-year-olds who are trying to impress other 14-year-olds and so on and so forth. And their conception of what is meaningful and what a man is, and what a man isn't, is sort of being tested and built every single day in this sort of like crazy, toxic, angry environment full of other men, including the teachers. You know what I mean? And so, the requirements to sort of prove that that you are like the conception of a masculine man, constantly assaulted with that concept, is what I mean by gay panic in this. But it's something that's sort of like you unwind for years afterwards. And I can say with admission, that until probably age 19, I was like a George W. Bush is the president Republican. Like, did I love being Catholic and being a Republican?
Robert, you've never told me this before.
It's a dark secret.
Yeah. Good thing not a lot of people listen to this podcast, I guess. So,
it's one of those things. Later on, I worked in Tennessee politics, and there was this one meaningless person to another. Someone tried to character assassinate me by being like, this guy's a Republican. And I'm like, not, but also kind of. And so, I've had a lot of like, deprogramming that's happened in my adult life, that I sort of, the formative years of teenagerhood, happening at an all boys school is definitely what's a part of that. So,
yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's
we
heavy.
got deep there.
Yeah.
We got real heavy there.
Sorry, is this a comedy podcast?
We also get deep.
Yeah.
We also get real deep. Mitch, you look like you had a follow up there.
Well, I was curious if like what were at your school? What was like the top of the mountain style student? Like who were the top dogs in your class?
I think that quite honestly, like there are the football players, but I would say that the wrestlers were like the people who had the best, like unimpeachable cultural cachet.
Sure.
In the sense that they were the guys who were like the football guys were kind of like whatever. They were like regular old jocks, but I feel like the wrestlers were like more likely to be in the honors classes, but still have to be like they could be the boys that could still party, but like be smart. Like there was a like a rugged individualism to wrestling that you don't get with like a football.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So I was curious because at my school, being a football player didn't guarantee you anything. It was a strange, even though it was a very, like a lot of people played football, like, you know, whatever. It was just, there was a strange club called the Crack Drill Squad, and it was a precision rifle team where they would flip the rifles.
Yes.
And it was like 12 guys, I think. And basically like you could get on it your sophomore year if like your older brother was on it recently, or you were popular with like in this weird sect of whatever, popular kid group. But they also had like, they were much more open with their homoeroticism as well. Like I didn't hang out with those kids because they were not very much fun, and simple-minded in general, most of them.
Also, the irony is they were terrible shots.
So many died.
Oh, that's kudos. But like, I'd hear from like one of the couple of them that I actually talked to, like they would get drunk and like get naked all the time, and like they'd always be like walking down the hallways with their arms around each other, and so it was like showing that like physical affection like wasn't out of bounds. But then like if I told every single person I heard use the word gay in a derogatory way, that would be like 3/4 of my day. And it was like, when people really hit it hard, you'd be like, okay, come on, hold on. No, guys, stop. But it was like every time it was used, it would be like, you would spend your whole day doing it. And so like these kids still did that. But to illustrate like the sort of this group very well, one of the guys I just saw in my yearbook had a quote. It said, "I learned more in crack drill than I ever learned in a classroom." And he was a dummy. Yeah. So So
big wood stick that make boom boom spin fast. That means better than math.
Was he on January 6th of 2020?
He was. I think he was driving. He was the medic for the Stormers.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah. So
the Stormers medic. Like you're not even actually doing the insurrecting. You're there in case anyone gets a boo boo.
He can't shoot. We just established that.
He cannot shoot.
And that's just it. Is he guilty then? Did he really go? He was just on standby to put Band-Aids.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, just on standby. So.
Man, we went in a lot of circles there, folks. But that was fantastic. For bringing us to a deep place, I'm going to give you 3 points, but I got to take the Republican tax, so you're going down to 2.
That's fair.
All right, moving on to Mitch. The stare down went to Robert for his 3 points for number 3. So, Mitch, you need to reveal your number 3.
Yeah, so my number 3 is get yourself a thick skin. And this also, on top of that, is like don't waste time and blood pressure on worrying about people talking shit about you or like getting, too enraged about it, because as you said, hurt people. And it's one of my
great. Yeah.
And this is also one of my least favorite reality TV show tropes is people always getting angry because people disrespect them. They're like, they are not respecting me. And you're like, who gives a fuck if that fuckhead respects you? Like, just do your thing. But like there are things that happen in high school that people never forget. It's like if certain things happen, never forget. In the back of the yearbook, there's just one whole page of things kind of like we'll never forget. And like some of the things are still like one of them happened the second week of freshman year. It was like one of the first things mentioned in the yearbook. Devlomnik fell into a fire at the freshman bonfire. He was trying to jump over it. He tripped. He fell into it. He almost burned himself.
To be fair,
no one was worried about his safety. They just were like, "Wow, you're an idiot. You fell in the fire." So
yeah, that makes the yearbook for sure.
He could have had a whole page devoted to him if he hadn't made it out of the fire.
Well, that's true. Well, he also his nickname was Gerber Baby because he looked like an actual Gerber baby.
Oh.
He was.
Not after the fire.
Well, I think after the fire would like an overcooked sweet potato. Maybe. That's what, Jesus. But see, like this is the thing. My name here on the chat today is Sergeant First Class Frotch. People called me Fire Crotch or Frotch all 4 years, and at first I was like, "Hey guys, that's really mean. I'm really annoyed by it." Then you realize they're actually talking to you, and it's just it's really just it's so sad though too. You're like, well, they remember me, right? Like they know who Frotch is. Someone says Frotch or Fire Crotch. They think I was not the only redhead in the grade either, but I was the only Fire Crotch. So in a strange, fucked up, twisted way, that put me at the number 1 ranking of all the redheads in the class, which is so sad because it doesn't mean anything either. But for whatever reason, I was people's favorite redhead. So
there's nothing quite like being the top of the bottom.
You son of a bitch. But yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it happens all the time. The people who react the most get the most shit, right? If you just don't react, people get bored and they go away. And
that's me. Yeah, that was
and so like I figured out early on, especially too, because I was coming from a different economic stratosphere than most kids. I was one of the few Democrats that was like loud and proud about it at the school, and so it was like I always got shit from other people all the time. But eventually you figure out, maybe a common bond, a bridge or something. And like eventually it'll turn the other way. And, if it continues, then you just know that person's just a true asshole, and then you don't want to talk to him anyway. But one of the most interesting relationships I think I had in high school after thinking about this was this kid named Dominic Soletti. And he was, he had his first car was a white Cadillac Escalade XL, like brand new with like rims and everything. He had an enormous house, so big, like, he wouldn't have to see his parents for a whole week if he didn't need to, didn't want to or whatever. And he was also very overweight and also, in the closet at the time, and also very, very, very Republican. But for whatever reason, I either had a lot of classes with him or he just wanted to be my friend, but I ended up spending a lot of time with him somehow in high school. I don't remember if we had a lot of classes or exactly why or how it happened, but it was like a constant fight with him of, red versus blue, rich versus poor, that kind of thing. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I wish I had more insight, had more memories of this, but I ended up spending way more time with the kid than what I wanted to. But when it was just me and him somewhere, he always was much nicer to me than understanding he's just like a neglected child at heart because his parents just like threw money at the problem basically.
And constantly in an internal struggle everywhere he goes. Maybe that was part of it.
I mean, yeah, that too, and like, and post high school, he wouldn't join. I think it was the Marines or the Army Rangers. And like, now he's some ripped up stud somewhere, last I heard. So I hope he's living his best life. But like those kind of things were like, if you don't let it get to you, sometimes hopefully it'll like turn a corner and, you can find some positives to the situation. And just, realizing that most people are just, lashing out because they themselves are trying to get ahead in the rankings, But yeah,
what a classic upper middle class to ripped stud story,
right? Dude, he wasn't upper middle class. This dude was like I think his dad was like the richest dentist in Minnesota or something. Like, yeah, just absolutely filthy rich. So yeah.
What kind of dentistry did he do?
I'm assuming it was like cosmetic. I don't know. Whatever you get the most money out of. And he was like the head of the dental associate, or he was the president of the dental association, and And
you know my bitter rivalry with the dentist community.
Yes.
Right?
Oh
yes,
yeah. Oh, I know. Yes. Because you worked for the hygienist. So
yes,
yeah.
I was on team dental hygienists
because they do the most work, just like nurses in hospital, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, can you do 80% of the work for like 80% less pay? All right. Mitch, you're getting 3 points for that. Again, you brought us deep. All right. Robert, you're number 2.
Number 2. Okay. My number 2 thing that I learned at an all-boys school is serial monogamy.
Ooh.
Yes. This could be, this is wrapped up in sort of everything about me. Because it's like you try and you figure out who you are, right? And then like you get enough of a grain of like identity about yourself, right? And then you can start building on that and become a person that other people want to be around, right? Part of that for me in high school was theater. And so did plays in high school, which turns out to be, for a person who like has no like discernible social life, the only place that you meet girls is the all boys school. What we did was we sort of traded women with the all girls school. They would come audition for our plays when we had plays that had female parts and things like that. But this all to illustrate that women were hard to find. And so I can only describe my adolescent dating as like chain smoking girlfriends. Because it's like the time that I would potentially spend alone and single was so onerous that I couldn't even fathom not dating someone. And so I was constantly like, I mean, like I'm talking my first girlfriend, we dated and it was wonderful person. We had a nice time together, but
sure. Like
I had it in my head that, there was this other girl that liked me and I was more interested in her. And I just like flat out for no particular reason broke up with my first girlfriend to start dating this other person who we went on one date, did not go anywhere. It turns out not only was she gay, but her friend who I took to prom was also gay. And there are other, like, it's just, I went through, there were several people that I had crushes on who like were not interested at all. But then, I mean, like, I'm talking, I had a long distance Minnesota girlfriend. She went to Cretan-Derham Hall.
Oh, that was her arch rival, high school, actually. Oh my God.
Small world.
Yes. I believe.
What was her name?
Are we gonna do this? No, we're not.
No, sorry. No. Yeah. I know everyone in St. Paul. I'm the king of St. Paul. Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Which one is it, by the way? Is it Derham Hall or is it Cretan that was a military school before they merged? One of them was an all boys military school.
Cretan was the boys, Derham Hall was the girls.
And apparently I've been told, was told by my friends that went there that, the day that they merged into a co-ed school, the trustees of Cretan lost their fucking minds. Like the men were like, this was a man's school and you cannot possibly put women in here. But you know, I'm talking like,
good Lord.
But you know, I date a lot, like for the sake of dating someone, essentially, I was dating someone long distance because I'm also Catholic. And so obviously I need to be on a quick and strong path to marriage as soon as possible. So I date her and then we both go to college together. We break up. I start dating someone in college immediately. Then she breaks up with me because it was a nightmare of a relationship. And then, but I sort of like it became clear to me that I must be dating as much as possible constantly, but dating one person. And it stuck with me for forever because of, the lack of women, I think is a serious contributor here.
Interesting.
For sure.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I could see like the Catholicness or I guess in general too, like everyone loves to get a girlfriend in high school too if you can. It's real great.
So Robert's was plays. What was your like co-mingled with the girls' school activities?
Ours, there were a couple classes that you would share, and it was like a 5-10 minute walk over to the all girls school, literally across the street and like down a woodsy path. The
woodsy path.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Visitation was famously the girls were much higher class than the boys. It was a lot of people dated just from other schools or whatever, because the Viz girls were all much smarter and just better than us, just not as much as shitheads and just assholes and whatnot. But I did senior choir over at Viz, and it was like the senior choir of a choir of people who can't sing. It was just like we just want to have like a late Friday, or a late day class where we could skip it if need be, or go over and
that poor teacher who just took that for the stipend.
Oh, God. She told us, she's like, after like the first, also it was spring too, so it was getting warm.
Yeah,
and people were like, we want to get the fuck out of here. She told us, she goes, guys, just at least come to 3 days a week. That's all I'm asking. So like, she literally told us that. We're
bargained.
Like, all right, cool. Yeah, sweet. Okay. But yeah, so we would see some girls then, and, they did their level best to get as many mixed, like events with the girls and stuff. But also, gold mine for me for meeting people was working at an ice cream shop in high school. There's no better place to make friends or give free ice cream to people that you have a crush on. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask if the woodsy path was regularly patrolled by your wizard teachers or whatever it is in your school?
I shit you not, Visitation had peacocks on their grounds. So if anything bad is going down, the peacocks would squeal and whatnot. Yeah.
You had snitch birds?
Yes, the fucking snitch birds on Visitation's grounds. But yeah, I think maybe one teacher would stand out there during a big passing time, but yeah, there really wasn't. There was no supervision. You could honestly just leave school and I can go to class and just leave if you wanted to. That was like no one really. It was open campus too, so you could leave and go get lunch and stuff. So yeah, but
they gave you too much freedom, Mitch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did. Yeah. Yep.
Speaking of that freedom, what is your number 2 here, sir?
Oh yeah, my number 2 is don't live in the past, and so just illustrate that, I'm going to read out of my yearbook here real quick.
This is the worst advice for this entire podcast. That's all we do is live in the past. These are my senior notes that go along with my picture of me in my military uniform. Can you show us the picture?
Oh yeah, sure. I can show you this here. This is
Please.
Me right here.
Gotta give a little taste to the people who are watching the video. Oh, look at that guy
right there.
You guys are seeing a very pale, reflective, white balanced stud. In a tie and uniform with a perfectly arms crossed.
Yep.
Wow, what a pose.
Yep, I have the military uniform. I have all my medals on there from riflery and academics and Key Club and Citation, which is the magazine. But I was a first sergeant, so that was my rank when I ended senior year. But you always start with your nicknames. So here are my nicknames here. Brink, Mitchapalooza, Brinks, Red Devil, Fire Crotch, Fire, Red Hot, Brink Dizzle. And then these were nicknames that I made up for myself that no one ever actually called me. I was just trying to make myself seem cooler. Cash, Georgetown, Brink Dog. So that's really...
So they printed Fire Crotch?
I can't believe that.
Yep. Yes, they did. Yeah, there was...
How many people's heads that just go right over? There's no way they knew what that was.
Yeah, no, I'm sure a lot. And then just, lots of notes about like... thanks to all the guys from STL, that's St. Luke's. Good luck to y'all in college. Don't party too hardy. Just giving some advice there as an 18-year-old.
Nice.
Special thanks to all the fellas throughout my STA career. You know who you are. That's a nice note.
Yeah.
Yep. This one I like about a friend of ours, Nick Dupre, who was good at guitar and liked to sing for people. Cowboy hat plus aviators plus guitar equals yuck, because he did that for a talent show. So yeah. and now Nick Dupre builds products for NPR and is like a musical, does really cool work for them. So
that's very nice.
Nick is.
Oh, thank God you guys tore him down in high school.
I know, right? Yeah. So, but the biggest problem though here, honestly, and Robert, it sounds like you might have been part of the problem at Christian Brothers, is the school was so obsessed with the tradition and what happened before, and like, this is what we were allowed to do prior, so we should be still allowed to do this now. And again, too, like the certain students given special privileges because their fathers or their older brothers or whatever it was had gone to the school. So like, literally, one of our students, his father and his grandfather and his older brother went there, and so he literally got in a fist fight with a teacher and punched a teacher, and was not suspended because his father was best friends with the headmaster and they played football together at Northwestern. Yeah, and so like there's just different classes built into the social structure of the school.
Wow.
And also there's at St. Thomas, there is a rich history of, whitedom. And every year we had they crowned the cadet colonel. So the highest ranking kid in the senior class. And it's just before Thanksgiving. Everyone comes in their dressiest military uniforms. The headmaster holds out a saber in front of 4 kids and does like who's going to get it of these 4? And then they crown the cadet colonel. And my senior year, Nate Walker gets crowned cadet colonel, and then the priest comes up and says, let's do a prayer to bless the cadet colonel and like pray for good leadership in the coming year. And the priest is like, so everyone raise your right hands over the cadet colonel. So we're all in military uniforms, right hands up, Sieg Heil motion. And we're doing a prayer. And at that ceremony, also, local news always shows up. They take footage of the event. So somewhere on local news that night, there was footage of 500 young white men in military uniforms, just arms raised. Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of stuff where you're like, maybe we could change some of this and, maybe we can modernize, again, the idea of what it means to be a man in this case, and like maybe hold people accountable on an equitable level, like, just everywhere. And so, yeah, that's my number 2. So, thanks for letting me live in the past a little bit.
No problem.
Would you mind, are you being hyperbolic, or were there not white people at your high school?
So my class was 100.
Yeah.
And we had, two kids that were not white.
Wow.
Yeah. Martin and Dallas. 2%. They were actually, people used to, I can't remember what they call us. They joked because I would hang out with Martin, who was Korean, Dallas, who was African American, and then our other friend Eric was like blonde haired, blue eyed, like white as the snow German. And so like, I think, something like, there's the Neapolitan crew or what, I don't know. People just call us that because it was like the most diverse group of students together in our class. So yeah, there was very, very, very few. And sadly, also the trend was often a freshman class would be like 125 or something. And it would normally like 25% attrition. And a lot of times it would be the non-white kids that would be leaving early. That's kind of what happened.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Yucky.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
So not great.
Well, for the phrase chain smoking girlfriends and for trying to call yourself Cash and the slight neo-Nazism, you're both only getting 2 points.
Damn it. You son of a bitch. All right.
Let's go to Robert first for his number 1 to take us home here.
Let's sum it up, folks.
Take a seat.
Summit.
Listen to the
Summit.
We're gonna wrap. I'm gonna sit backwards in the chair. Yep. I think that, like, especially if I'm thinking about this as an old man, looking back on what high school actually taught me, the phrase is "cool is contextual."
Okay, very nice.
Cool is context, man. It's like the awakening was like it's especially so beautiful when you can leave the context of the place that you are something to some people and become nothing, something new to other people. And I say this, the way that this sort of comes out, like Catholic high school, right? The reason I had a girlfriend from Minnesota was because there was a group of us that did this like high school youth group. It was like sponsored by the school, and it was supposed to be this like service organization. And what would happen was that every year we would go to a thing called The Gathering, and The Gathering would be at a different school. Oh yes, how nice. A different host school. In somewhere in the Midwest, which we were apparently a part of. So from Memphis all the way up, we had Minnesota, we had Missouri, etc. Plenty of whites to go around.
Was this just like a meat market, basically?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
There was one other all boys school. It was Christian Brothers College in St. Louis, and they were in some ways rivals. But the point of this is, in fact, that like we came and we were like a group that had a reputation as being interesting and fun and wild and cool. And nobody was there to tell anyone that was wrong, that was a lie.
Yeah.
And so we had a refuge. And I'm talking very early on, because I started going to this in between freshman and sophomore year, a place where there were people who repeatedly we could come back to, and they were like, thank God the Memphis boys are here, because they really know how to party. And that wasn't true. Except that it was, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lesson that I've carried in perpetuity, is that it's like you can make yourself what you want to make yourself. And that you don't have to, just like you're talking about, like living in the past, like you don't have to be beset by the demons of what other people think about you. You can make like a narrative for yourself. And like, that's not universally true. You're still yourself, right? Yeah. And so you can only carry yourself as far as you can carry yourself. But if you have like some sort of innate like spark, that you can be a better version of yourself and like be a different and a cool person, whatever it is. Like you can be cool to people and not worry about the people who don't like you.
Yeah.
So that's my number one.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a very valid lesson.
Yeah.
Mitch, how are you going to tackle that one? How are you going to be more philosophical and better than that with your number one?
Mine kind of, I guess, could fit it kind of in the same oddly shaped box a bit. My number one is defend your positions. I guess your position could be, in this case, I was thinking more so like, just your core foundational beliefs. And that absolutely would spill over into social situations too. But again, as I mentioned, a high school just lousy with terrible Republicans who, think that they've built all these things on their own and they got help from no one and they're smarter and more intelligent and, deserve everything they have. And actually they need more and they don't have enough and they need more and they want more.
I'm waiting for the lie here.
Yeah. And me coming from, also like a very, very secure background. Like I never, I was like, Mom, Dad, I want to go to this expensive high school. And they were like, okay, we'll figure it out. Mom and Dad, I want to do that. Like maybe we didn't go on lavish vacations, all the time, but it's not like we were obviously very, 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 secure. And, I never wanted for anything. But like just having that daily barrage of Republicans who are overly confident because one, they have their strength in numbers for them, and again, two, they're trying to, everyone's trying to knock people down, and then just like feeling crazy in some of those moments, like in economic classes or religion classes or history classes, of making the argument for helping people and caring about people, and people being like, You're a fucking fag for thinking that. Like literally being called a fag for that. And you're like, no, that's just not, guys, and just trying to share whatever few stories I have that might illustrate that like not everyone, in the world has it as good as us, and it matters what happens to other people. And it doesn't just matter like whether or not you scratch your fucking Escalade on the way home, or if you get the Rolex you wanted and then you got it for your birthday, but it's not tight enough, so it jangles a little bit, Dominic Saletti complained about that. It's just, it was, and
can I ask, for all of your classmates, do you mention where they were on January 6th, 2021? I just really want to know how many of these people were there, but that's just an evergreen question.
I would not be surprised, because even though my school was a military high school, only 2 or 3 kids from my class actually went into the military. Sure. It's one of those things where it's sadly the military draws from the population that needs more stability. And so these high school kids
say no more.
Yeah. So, praise on non-white people. There we go. And I shouldn't say it, because also, there's poor whites everywhere too.
We don't need to hillbilly. You get back to your point. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. But so I would not be surprised, because there were a couple kids who already had their own guns at home and were very excited about joining the military, and were excited about entering, West Point at a higher level than the other incoming freshmen, excited to go to war.
Those are the ones that don't make it past the psych eval. So
yeah. So I would not be surprised if there was, honestly, I'd say 3, but I wouldn't be surprised at 10 kids that either responded yes to the RSVP, and maybe only 7 of them went. But I would not be surprised at all. So
still too high of a number.
Yeah. So, but and then also in the defending your position place too. I know I didn't really come out of my shell and find a personality until I was probably junior year, I think, and I still was 8th grade, freshman year, and part of sophomore year. I still spent almost all my time with my 4 friends that I'd had since I was 5 years old. And we played, think Magic the Gathering, but baseball cards. It's called MLB Showdown. So we were I was just uber sports nerd. That's just all I did. And, didn't make the basketball team either, got cut from that. So I was Jesus. I was bereft in the desert of how do I fill my time sophomore year? And
so did Jordan, and look at you now.
Well, that's yes, you're right. Yeah. Meet MJ, very similar. I have a documentary coming out soon where I shit on everyone in my life too, so it's gonna be good.
And it's 11 parts instead of 10.
Yeah. Jordan. But it just, I guess it just stealed just stealed my reserve to just tell people to fuck off basically, and just I did me, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be me, and that's what I'm going to be. So, yeah. And unfortunately too, there was a downside to that as well, to going to this high school, because one of the favorite sayings is boys will be boys, is what they said there. So guys, we heard that you guys were, lighting firecrackers at the gas station down the block, and someone did a donut and peeled out fast, and let's not do that. I know boys will be boys, but let's try and ship shape, that kind of thing. And so there's very little consequences for a lot of the actions that happened at my school. And so that imparted to me probably the world can't hurt me confidence too, that isn't always safe. But I thankfully had enough limits, or understood my limits enough, where other kids in my class definitely did not have that, because they had unlimited resources for everything. And so there's a kid who I don't think he's finished his bid yet, but is sentenced to 15 years in jail, I think, for killing 3 people in a car accident after he was on 5 different drugs and drinking and that kind of thing, as a 19-year-old, I think it was. So, and that behavior had been there since he was 16, and people were like, dude, you cannot do this. But he never felt consequences for it, because his dad always got him out of it, or his natural intelligence always got him out of it, whatever it was. And so, yeah. But
there's your living proof that there's no more dangerous phrase in our lexicon than boys will be boys.
Yes.
Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah. You guys both took us to very dark, deep, real places for this, and I cannot bring myself to take your scores down. So you'll both be getting 3 points for this number 1, which of course brings us to our final tally.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay. This is another terrible thing, because I remember the thing about the teachers. we could only take one kind of art class in my high school, and it was religious themes and art. So I built a cross, and I made a batik of the Dalai Lama. But that teacher was the only out teacher at our school. Renee Desjardins was her name. And everyone called her Renee Desjardins. So there was just another terrible example. But
creativity abounds at your school.
Right? But a nice name. Desjardins. Rolls off the tongue, feels very artsy, I feel like. So yeah.
It is a great artsy name, which means I'm going to have to give Robert Callahan one more chance to see if he can remember a teacher's name that is better than the French one Mitch just gave us.
This is the question about whether or not I am willing to stoop to the depths and go to the mat, because I have one in the back pocket, but it is brutal.
I think you got to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to cut it, we can cut it. We can absolutely cut it.
No, it's going
okay.
in.
It's
Unfortunately,
in. Okay.
This is a two-parter, folks. Because we had our senior year religion teacher. His name was Thomas Klitz.
Yes.
And wait, why is that funny? I don't know why I laughed. I'm sorry.
That's fine. It was all fine. We got our jokes out of Klitz, plenty. But it really came to a head.
Where'd you find the jokes? That's always the hard part.
Indeed.
Continue.
When he named his new baby daughter Rosie.
Oh no.
Oh no.
High school.
Those are both extremely funny names. So you will both be getting the bonus. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter, because to Mitch's 13, Robert has 14. Today's victor. Congratulations, sir. What a debut.
Good game, Robert. Good game.
Thank you. I would have said that it was rigged either way, so I'm glad that it was rigged in my favor.
Continuing our trend with talking about January 6, 2021. All right. We cannot leave today, though, without the revealing of a Fast Five, which of course is mine, which is the top 5 reasons to attend an all-boys school, and what I interpret that to mean based on this one Google search of a page submitted by St. Catherine's Academy in Orange County for their reasons for all-boys educations. Number 5. All boys school focus on specific learning styles of boys. Quote, research shows that traditional American elementary schools favor the learning style of girls. Teachers capitalize on boys' natural curiosity and energy by incorporating movement and hands-on learning tools into everyday lessons. Now let me translate that for the people at home. These little fuckers don't sit still, so fuck what the girls want. We'll let these little assholes run around until they're tired, then blitzkrieg knowledge into them at the end of the day like fucking foie gras. Number 4. All boys schools let boys learn and grow at their own pace. And quote, in an all boys environment, boys can gain confidence in their ability to learn without being compared to girls, who usually develop language and fine motor skills sooner than boys. Which of course means this is way too early for developing boys to know that women have brains. We must ensure nothing distracts these rugrats from knowing that they are the better sex, because science, but mostly God. Number 3. All boys schools create an optimum physical learning environment. What is this? Quote, by taking into account certain physiological differences, all boys school can create a physical environment in which boys are best able to learn, unquote. Which of course translates to, we know you're going to have a bi-curious phase, and we want you to tamp that down. Sexuality is not a spectrum. It's hard, rock hard, in fact, and fast. Actually, when surrounded by temptation, you must learn to bury that shit or burn in hell for eternity, you little shit. Number 2.
Jesus
Christ. All boys schools engage boys in the learning process. You would hope. Wow. Quote, a study found that parents who switched their sons to all boys school observed an increased eagerness to learn and compete academically. which of course means that competition is the only way. You must beat your fellow man in any way you can. We want you boys to go head to head, but in competing, but let's call them beat-offs. You must constantly give in to your fluctuating testosterone and prove you are the alpha every fucking day. Number 1. All boys schools encourage boys to pursue a variety of interests. Quote, in all boys schools, it is common for a boy to participate in arts, athletics, and community service, unquote. That's right, math and science is for nerds! You can go ahead and be in plays too, bitch! Get in there and memorize that shit! Be the best! You want to volunteer? Do it! Be the best at it! Do it, or you're a failure! Do not fail! You must not fail! Don't fucking let anyone down! And that's this week's edition of Über Cinco.
Horrible.
Oh, man, with a gentle quaff in the quaint Sopico district of Chicago has been
Mitch Brinkman.
And with hair on the show that's finally better than Mitch's has been
Callahan.
Woo. Oh, yes. And I've been your big wet boy, Brian Ernst. And as Bizbear always says, it's okay to give in. Go ahead and get that air fryer. Auf Wiedersehen and adios.
You've just listened to Über Cinco, a production of UBK Studios. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your fine podcasts from.
If you like what you hear and want to support the show, please visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/UBK Studios. Every little bit helps us keep the lights on and the bill collectors at bay.
Keep tabs on us on all the social media at UBK Studios, and most importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can see that we really are just a bunch of good Midwestern boys.